Here we are given greatest integer function of 2 sin x plus greatest integer function of cos x is equal to minus 3. Then what is the range of the function sin x plus root 3 cos x in the 0 to 2 pi domain? Okay. Now this is the greatest integer function. Obviously these two will give integers only. Greatest integer of 2 sin x and greatest integer of cos x, these are integers only. Now the sum is minus 3. So sin x, we know it ranges between minus 1 to plus 1. Similarly, cos x also minus 1 to plus 1. So obviously 2 sin x can range between minus 2 to plus 2. Right. So, and this one will range between minus 1 to plus 1. So the lowest point of this is minus 2. The lowest point of this is, so this ranges from minus 2 to 2. This ranges from minus 1 to 1. And the sum is minus 3. What does that mean? This one has to be at that lowest point. This one has to be at that lowest point. Then only the sum is minus 3. What does that mean? The greatest integer function of 2 sin x should be minus 2 and greatest integer function of cos x should be minus 1. Otherwise, the sum will not be minus 3, right? So the lowest itself is minus 2 here. This function lowest itself is minus 2 and here the lowest itself is minus 1. So both have to be at their lowest to make the sum the lowest, which is minus 3. Okay. So obviously, if greatest integer function of sin 2x or 2 sin x has to be lowest, that doesn't mean sin x has to be at lowest. Okay. So now we have to find out for what x this greatest integer function will be the lowest. Okay. So here this has to be at the lowest. What does that mean? This has to be at minus 2 and greatest integer function of cos x has to be at minus 1. So what does that mean? So if greatest integer function of something, if greater is equal to minus 2, what does that mean? X should lie between minus 2 to minus 2 less than or equal to x less than minus 1. So for example, minus 1.5 is also minus 2, right? Is minus 2. Minus 1.5 is also minus 2, but greatest integer function of minus 1 is not minus 2. So that's why this has to be less than minus 1, but greater than or equal to minus 2. Right, that is the definition of greatest integer function. Please be careful here. It has to be strictly less than minus 1. Otherwise, if it is less than or equal to minus 1, if this is equal to minus 1, then greatest integer function of 2 sin x um, will be minus 1. It will not be minus 2. Right. So greatest integer function of minus 1 will become minus 1. It will not be minus 2. So for it has to be minus 2, for this has to be minus 2, 2 sin x should always be lesser than minus 1, but greater than minus 2. Similarly, cos x should always be lesser than 0, not less than or equal. It should always be strictly lesser than 0 and greater than or equal to minus 1. What does that mean? Sin x, we are dividing by 2 on both sides. Minus 1 should be less than or equal to sin x, less than, should be strictly less than minus half. Okay. So, and similarly, minus 1, this one is the same. Now, let us try to understand when is sin x lesser than minus half. Okay. So, we know all are positive here. 4 quadrants, sine, tan, and cos. Obviously, sine means sine and cosecant, tan means tan and cot, cos means cos and secant. Okay, we know the 4 quadrants. Here, sin x is lying between lesser than minus half. Okay, obviously that means sin is negative only in Q3 and Q4. Okay, so what does that mean? If we take some point, okay, so for some point this is minus half. Okay, minus half comma 1. So for example, if uh, sorry, this is minus half and the radius is, let's say, unit radius as 1. Okay, so this is the y coordinate, right? Y coordinate is minus 1 and y coordinate is minus half. Sine means y coordinate of this point, right? So it has to be lesser than minus 1, lesser than minus half. What does that mean? So this is the angle that we are looking for. Okay, so y coordinate should be even lesser, even lesser, even lesser. It can go to up to minus 1 maximum. If the radius of this unit circle or the hypotenuse that we are seeing, is hypotenuse is of length 1, then this theta should lie between here and here. Okay, because it has to be lesser than minus half. Minus half minus 0.7, minus 0.9, minus 1, whatever. Okay. So now sine, when is sine theta is equal to half? It is equal to half. Sine theta is half when theta is 30 degrees or pi by 6. Right. So sine, so if this has to be minus of, what does that mean? This angle has to be pi by 6. Right. Sine of 180 plus 60. Right. 180 plus, sorry, 180 plus 30. 180 plus 30, which is equal to sine of 210 or pi plus pi by 6, which is 7 pi by 6. At 7 pi by 6, it is equal to minus half. So it has to be lesser than minus half. What does that mean? This has to be greater than 7 pi by 6. This angle is pi by 6, pi plus pi by 6. So it has to be greater than 7 pi by 6. And at the same time, what is this? This angle? This angle again is equal to absolute value of this is again pi by 6. So we have to, what is up to what? 2 pi minus pi by 6. 2 pi minus pi by 6. That is still this angle. What is this? 12 pi minus pi, which is 11 pi by 6. Okay, 11 pi by 6. So between 7 pi by 6 and 11 pi by 6, right? That is this angle. Sine theta is negative. At the same time, it is lesser than minus half, because at this point, this is also minus half point. This point is also minus half. And how do you decide what is the minus half point? 180 degrees plus 30 degrees, or 360 degrees minus 30 degrees. Okay, so this is a reference angle. How do you find? Because what is the reference angle? Reference angle is whatever angle that makes with the x-axis. And then we'll append the sine as per the quadrant. So for example, sine 210 degrees. What does it mean, sine 210? Sine 210 is sine 180 plus 30. Okay, so this 30 is the reference angle. 180 plus 30. So this should be 30. Okay, this should be 30. And what is sine 30? Sine 30 is half. So sine 180 plus 30, this, because this is in the quadrant 3, we will append minus. Okay, so this is how we calculate sine or cos or whatsoever. First, we'll calculate the reference angle. Reference angle is the angle we make with respect to the x-axis. Okay, so that means either we'll write as 180 plus or 360 minus. Right, and as per whether the sine or cos or whatever is positive or negative in that in that quadrant, we will just append that minus or plus to the absolute value. So, for example, if it is about sine 330 degrees, sine 330, we will write it as sine 360 minus 30. Okay, which is what? 11 pi by 6 also. So, which is what? Sine 360 minus 30. So, what we'll do? We'll do sine 30, which is half. But this is in Q4. Q4 sine should be negative. So, this is also minus half. Right. So, the value of sine 330 degrees. So, essentially what we are saying, this angle X should lie between 210 and 330, which is nothing but 210 is 730 is 7 pi by 6, or 1130 is 11 pi by 6. Okay, X is lying in this range. Okay, now coming back to minus 1 to 0 of cos. Where is cos negative? Cos is negative in Q2 and Q3. Right, this part and this part. Q2 and Q3. Cos is negative. Cos is negative in this part as well as this part. Okay, so now it has to lie between minus 1 and 0. Obviously, then that means, so as here it is 0, here also it is 0, and here it will go to minus 1, and again it will go to 0. So for this one, the range is between, this is pi by 2 and this is 3 pi by 2. Pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2. So what exactly that we want? So net x has to be in this bucket also, and in this small bucket also. So what is net together? It has to be lesser than 7 pi by 6. Sorry, it has to be greater than 7, this small bucket that we want, right? Which is 7 pi by 6 to 3 pi by 2. Right. This is 7 pi by 6 is critical here, and 3 pi by 2 is critical here. So this is the intersection of both the ranges. One range is this, another range is this. Okay, so the intersection of this is this, which is 7 pi by 6 to 3 pi by 2. Very good. So we have found out what is x. Now, but the question is not about x. The question is about for that x, what is the range of this function? Okay, sin x plus root 3 cos x. This we know. This is a tricky. This we can convert into sin a plus b format. How do we do this? If we multiply this equation sin x plus root 3x, multiply and divide by 2. Okay, because we have root 3 by 2 and 1 by 2. 1 by 2 is what? Root 3 by 2 is we can write it as sin 60 degrees and half we can write it as cos 60 degrees. Right, what does that mean? Sin 60 cos x, cos 60 sin x, sin a cos b, cos a sin b. What does that mean? That means we can write it as sin a plus b. Sin, what is a? Sin a plus b, that is sin 60 plus x or sin pi by 3 plus x. Right, so the 2 is there outside. So essentially, this function, whatever that is given, this function, whatever that is given, is equal to 2 sin pi by 3 plus x. Right. So far, so good. Now we have to find out what is the range of this sin pi by 3 plus x. And what is x? X is 7 pi by 6. What is the range of now? What is whatever is there inside? Pi by 3 plus x. Pi by 3 plus x. That is pi by 3, which is 60 degrees, plus x is 210, which is equal to 270 degrees. We have to find out sin range from 270 to, what is this one? 270 plus again 30 degrees. 270 plus 60 degrees, which is equal to 330 degrees. 270 to 330. Okay. Now, what is that? Sin 270 is actually minus 1. Right. So, sin 270 is this point. It is minus 1. And sin 330. We just realize what is 330? 360 minus 60 degrees. 360 minus 360 minus 30 degrees, right, which is equal to minus half sin 30, which is equal to minus half. So minus 1 to minus half. So this angle is going, this sine is going from, sine of pi by 3 plus x is going from 2 times of minus 1 to minus half. 2 times of minus 1 to minus half. What does that mean? This is running between 2 times minus 1 is minus 2, 2 times minus half is minus 1. So the range is minus 2 to minus 1. Minus 2 to minus 1. Right. Now please note, these are strictly lesser than, strictly less than or strictly greater than. So obviously we'll have the open brackets, not the closed brackets. Minus 2 to minus 1. Right, guys? Hope you like this. Thank you.